Plastic View informal settlement in the east of Pretoria. Residents are left to pick up the pieces after a fire gutted their homes yesterday. 250 people lost shelter and their personal belongings in the blaze. Zola Sholwana is there for us this hour, Zola, to tell us about the immediate needs of residents there.
Well, Dudu, residents of this informal settlement are left to pick up the pieces of what transpired in the early hours of Saturday. I'm sure you can see behind me that some of them are actually busy reconstructing their shacks, as we were told that they had to sleep outside after, NGOs came yesterday and offered them mattresses, and obviously without shelter, they had nowhere else to go but to really find, alternative means to sleep while they wait for, for the next help, possibly from the municipality. But we are told that representatives have been sent to come and speak to the community leaders, and I'm going to try and speak to one of them. But you please come closer. It must be hard for you, considering the fact that not so long ago you had your own shelter and now you are left with nothing.
Yeah, it's so hard to us because now we're just sleeping outside because shelter are bent down. So we're now looking for the help so that we can rebuild our sheds, get some blankets and beds to sleep. And the kids now, they're homeless. They don't have even the clothes to wear. So we're in big challenge.
Well, what kind of help do you need?
Yeah, we need, if we get somewhere, maybe blankets and groceries, clothes, and the material to rebuild, because yes, now we're bankrupt. We don't have anything, even the money, the passports, the IDs, they're bent inside the shake. So we need a lot of help from the government.
According to what you know, what caused the fire?
Yeah, the fire caused with the shabins. It's the main challenge we have in the campaign here in our camp, because people, they come from tavern. As you know, weekends, people, they like to enjoy. And they were coming from the tavern and they tried to cook during the night around 4. And everyone was sleeping, and the fire started there while he was trying to cook. So the challenge is taverns, because they don't close, they operating 24 hours.
How would you like that to be addressed? Would you want these taverns to be closed?
Yeah, actually we need maybe the police, the metro, to come and assist, the councillors, the Department of Government, Department of Security must come and help so that we can stop all these taverns, so that we don't have to face the challenges of fire. As we know, since we have a lot of fires affecting this camp because of taverns, because people they actually come from the taverns starting to cook during the night, then it's where the fire starts.
Now, in terms of the municipality, have you been receiving any help since the fire happened?
Yeah, the municipality, they are just promising. They are not yet coming to us, but they are saying they are coming maybe tomorrow. We are still waiting for them to give us what they have to us.
Now, I'm looking at the structures that you are rebuilding, and most of them you are actually using plastic. Is that a temporary solution, or after you find corrugated iron for your shacks, then you remove the plastics? And also, don't you think that these plastics are contributing to how the fires easily spread?
I agree with you. Because of bankrupts, we have nothing to do, because the plastic is cheaper. But actually, it's need maybe a brick or a zinc. A corrugated zinc is going to help, but the challenge we have finance. We don't have money. There's some of the people, the money we bent inside the shack, they don't have enough time to take out their money.
All right, thank you very much for now, sir. Dudu, I just want to show you the plastics I was referring to earlier. Most of the people here are really trying to rebuild their shacks as a way of trying to find temporary shelter and using plastics. And obviously, there's been so many incidents of fire, especially in informal settlements. And we are told that this is like a temporary solution until they find, corrugated iron, which will obviously be more costly than plastics at this point. But you might understand that these plastics actually contribute greatly to how the blaze easily spreads, across these informal settlements, resulting to burning a lot of shacks. But at this point, this is all they have, because they are saying that they are really hoping, to get some sort of assistance from the municipality or the relevant parties or even human settlements at this point to step in and assist them by providing them temporary temporary shelter while they try and, rebuild from scratch, because these people have lost all their belongings at this point, and now they find themselves having to sleep on these mattresses that were brought yesterday as a form of donation for them to have a place to sleep while they wait for a permanent solution to their problem. Back to you in studio.
Zola Sholwana, you speak of donations. Have we seen aid organizations that have come out to support residents here in terms of their immediate needs?
Well, we were told that there's been a number of NGOs that have, been coming to at least, provide the necessities at this point, which is food and toiletries to those that are in need. And we're told that they usually show up they came this morning earlier before we arrived. So those are the only people that they've been seeing. But now these residents are actually pleading for the municipality, because they are saying all they've been told is a series of promises and nothing really has been done from the municipality side in terms of providing them, with the necessities to survive until, a permanent solution is presented before them. Where my colleague is taking you right now is where most of them actually slept last night. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see due to that. There's a number of mattresses that have been dumped over there. That is where most women and children slept yesterday, while the men were actually trying to rebuild the structure so that in an event where, the weather changes and it becomes raining, they're able to sleep where there's shelter over them. The shelter that we're referring to at this point is just plastic, just so that they can be protected from these really bad weathers until something is done. But this whole informal settlement, Dudu, has really been, destructed in a sense that most shacks that make up this informal settlement have been burnt down, and we are told that it's been alleged that this was caused by a number of people that, came from a tavern and were drunk and happened to cook in the early hours of the morning. Of course, that's still an allegation. It really hasn't been proven. But the issue of, taverns that are operating illegally has been raised before, in a similar incident that claimed lives of about 5 children in another informal settlement here in Pretoria, which then brings a question to say, Dudu, when will this be addressed? Because seemingly it seems to be quite a problem. I mean, if someone comes back in the early hours of the morning, then it means that shebeen is operating throughout the night, and obviously that is not something that should be allowed in society. These issues have been raised quite a number of times, especially in informal settlements and in townships, by residents basically saying that these taverns are not helping the situation, because you'd understand that fires are quite prevalent in informal settlements. So to try and mitigate incidents of fire, then residents have to play their part, and the first step to playing their part would actually possibly contribute, or rather come up with a solution in terms of how you can get rid of these illegal taverns from operating.
In fact, that is the point that the Johannesburg MMC for Public Safety, Mgcinitwak, was speaking to us on the channel about yesterday, enforcing bylaws, closing down illegal shebeens, etc. And so it will be interesting to hear from the relevant authorities, the likes of the public safety MMCs in the city of Tshwane, to see what their plans are in order to ensure that there's some level of safety for others who don't necessarily enter into that space. But